Hey guys, PepperAmmy here. This week we are going to be making onion chutney. Now if you're like me and just finished September with a rather large amount of excess onions, this recipe is a great use for them. Now for this recipe you can use red onions, white onions, or even a mixture of the both. I had one spare red onion left and around 1.5 kilos of white onions left. But I'm going to be using around 750 grams of onions. Now this is the peeled weight, so depending on the quality of your onions, you may need up to 1 kilogram or maybe even more once you've taken the skin and possibly the first couple of layers off. Now you want to start by peeling and then slicing your onions. Now you want to slice them so you have long slices of onions, you don't want to dice them or anything. And you want to remove the root end and the tip if needed. And next, heat 2 tablespoons of oil in a large saucepan and gently fry the onions over medium-low for 25 to 30 minutes. Now you want to be stirring this regularly, making sure the onions don't burn or catch on the bottom of the pan. And the onions should be nice and soft but not browned, and they should have reduced somewhat, maybe even by half. And at this point, this is where you start to rethink the size of the jar you will need, as I cleaned and sterilized a rather large jar looking at the 750 grams of onions I had, and it didn't even half fill the jar I picked out. Once your onions have reduced and become soft, stir in 3 tablespoons of dark brown sugar and cook for around 10 minutes. Now you want to be stirring this occasionally, and this is where the caramelized part of the onion chutney comes in, so make sure the onions are fully coated. Now while the onions are cooking, combine 150 grams of dark brown sugar, 100 ml of red wine vinegar, a tablespoon of mustard seeds, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of crushed chillies. If you follow my tomato soup video and have some balsamic vinegar left over, you want to add around 2 tablespoons of that too, as this is going to give flavour and a nice dark colour as well. Now of course you can put your own twist or balance the seasonings how you wish, as this does have a bit of a kick from the chilies, but that does of course depend on what sort of chili powders and chili flakes you are using. Now of course you can add in your salt here, but I choose to put my salt in at the end because this is going to be reduced down greatly. And you can always add in more salt, but you can't take salt out. So if this is reduced down and your dish becomes too salty, that's where you start to have problems, as you cannot take out the salt that you've added in. Now once your onions are nice and caramelized, you want to add in your mixture you made and simmer over medium-low heat for around 30 to 45 minutes. Now you want to stir to make sure nothing catches or burns on the bottom of the pan until you are left with a thick sauce with your onions. Now you should be able to scrape the bottom of the pan with a wooden spoon, and it should take a few seconds for the sauce to recover and meet back in the middle. Once cooked, you should be able to easily spoon it into some prepared sterilized jars, hopefully of an appropriate size, and then you can seal, label, or even can. Now due to the acidity of the vinegar in this should keep for 6 to 12 months. But bearing in mind how much vinegar you are putting into this, it isn't actually that acidic tasting. And there you have it, a nice spicy great use for any leftover onions you may have laying around, but you're not sure what to do with. And the great thing about this recipe is you can scale it up or down. That's why I've kind of tried to use roundish numbers, and that way you can make as much or as little as you want. Now I've always loved a good chutney on some cold meats, and this is definitely going to be a go-to for the future and works great on cheeses as well. Now as always, if you like what you've seen, let me know down below with a like and a comment. If there are any changes you would do to this recipe, maybe adding some different spices or putting a different twist on it, or even if you make this recipe, let me know. It's great to hear from each and every one of you. If you are new here, feel free to subscribe, it really helps me grow. And I will see you all again next week. Thanks for watching.